Our next segment is our Bustle segment. We're happy to have Sage Young back on the show. She's Bustle's movies editor. Today we're chatting about the recent trend of women replacing male leads in movies and TV. She recently interviewed Jodie Whittaker, who is the new female lead in the BBC show, Doctor Who. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you always, yeah.
How cute was she?
Oh my God, adorable.
I love
watching her off camera, like...
I know, and I love how kids just like come out with anything that's on their mind, just like totally uncensored, unfiltered. So are you a Doctor Who fan?
I'm a huge Doctor Who fan.
So you know all about the series and what it's about. But people were upset that they had a woman replacing Doctor Who.
Yes, which is very silly and ridiculous because it's in the mythology of the show, basically, that the Doctor is an alien. The Doctor doesn't have a gender in the way that we have gender, if you do believe that we have gender. So it's in the text that that's possible. It's really wild to think that people assume, well, the Doctor has to be a man as the character, rather than just assuming and having the critical opinion of, well, they cast a British white man every time because that was what was expected of them. That's the casting. It's not the character. So it's right there in the text that that's possible, and it's in the history of the show. So, most of us were hoping that it would be happening soon.
Were you surprised by the some fans' reactions to the casting, that they weren't as encouraging of it?
No, I wasn't. On one hand, people fans of the show, like everybody has their favorite era, everybody has their favorite doctor, everybody has their favorite showrunner. And so every time there's change, even though the show constantly reboots, because if people are watching and they don't know, every few years they cast a completely new actor to play the doctor. The doctor has this way of cheating death that is regenerating every part of their entire body, which was made up in the 60s when the first actor, William Hartnell, to play the character wasn't able to, do the job anymore. And they were like, well, we don't want to cancel the show, so what are we going to do? Made that up. So change is a part of the show, but there's always grumbling. Even if it had been another white man, someone would have been like, but that guy's too young, he's too tall, he's too old, he's too whatever. There's always something like that.
Even though there's been some complaints, how are the ratings?
The ratings are amazing. They're, I think, the best that they've been in this modern era. Her debut was huge. A lot of people were incredibly excited about it. Every time you're sort of challenging, I guess, these old norms, you're also inviting new people into, or back into the fandom. I'd heard from a lot of people just sort of anecdotally, like, well, I haven't watched the show, but now I'm interested, or I quit a while ago and I'm going to come back because I want to see what they do with Jodie, because she's a woman, first of all, or maybe not first of all, she's a woman, or maybe just because they're fans of her work. So it's exciting.
We saw a female lead replace a male lead in another show, The House of Cards. Kevin Spacey was replaced by Robin Wright. Why exactly I won't get into the why exactly did that happen. But do you think it was a smart move to keep going with the series? Because they could have just ended the whole series after he died, being he was the lead character. He was the protagonist of the whole series.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, like, your protagonist is not your entire story. And they've also been building the story of Robin Wright's character for all these years. She deserved to go out. All those other characters deserve to have their stories serviced. Everybody deserved to have, their full arc told. And obviously, Robin Wright can carry a show. There's no question about that. She's
Bride and Beyond.
Yeah, right? And she's a lot of people's favorite character to begin with. So it just simply made sense to keep moving with her in the lead.
We've seen a lot of remakes with all-female casts like Ghostbusters and Ocean's 8. Why do you think this is?
Oh, I think a lot of different reasons. I think it's exciting that people want to see women's stories, but I think it's also a little bit easier to get those stories told and get money behind them if it is a familiar story. So while I think reboots are great, I loved Ocean's 8 and I loved Ghostbusters. It's really fun to see a world that or mythology story that explored with other characters and other viewpoints. I hope that what we're leading to is seeing more original stories starring original female characters. And I think there's room for both, but I think there was a little bit of like that was a lower bar to hop.
And then the emotions won't have to, like people, like you said, they transfer emotions onto reboots or remakes or re-envision characters. Another one that people have emotional reactions to is Bond.
Yes.
And there's been talk that there will not be a casting of a female Bond anytime soon, and that the executive producer said the character was written male and we should create more roles for women instead of switching gendered roles.
Yeah, that's an interesting case study because I think to some degree that's true. A lot of characteristics of Bond, I think, are. I don't know that I would want to see the female version of that, not because I wouldn't want to see a woman in an action role, but I would like to see her in something that was original and created for her.
And just being placed in.
And I think that's why it worked with Doctor Who, because that character essentially doesn't have a gender. That character is who they are, and that's consistent, whoever's playing them. And, it was the same thing, like, no, not the same thing, but with House of Cards, Robin Wright's character existed. She already had a personality. She wasn't changed or sort of slotted into someone else's role. So.
Well, I mean, you can't blame them for saying this is the way we want to stick to it, and that's okay. But we are seeing a lot of growth and change within Hollywood, which has been a long time coming.
Absolutely.
And everyone should check out your interview.
Yes, please.
Thank you.